Hey guys, it's William today, and we're gonna learn some math.
And that math is going to be absolute value equations. Specifically, we're going to be solving absolute value equations. I'm going to do an equatio again. The first thing I have to do is enter in the equation. And that equation, absolute value equation, is going to be the absolute value. And the absolute, that straight up and down line, is just above enter. So if you hit shift, it's the backslash button. Shift and then hit that button, you're going to get that vertical line. And the equation you want to solve is negative 2y plus 6. And you want to close it, equals 6. So on some of the other software you have, there's like a little button you can press inside the software to give you these, but it is on the keyboard, so it is a little easier to find. I'm going to insert that math, wait for it to do its thing. I'm going to center it. Now, with absolute value equations, when you're solving them, there's a couple of things you want to understand. The first is, I think, the most important piece is that when you're dealing with absolute value, I like to say this thing inside here, this expression in here, if I can find out what makes this 6, and if you kind of think ahead, negative 2 times 0 is 0, which makes all that's left is 6. The absolute value of 6 is 6, because the absolute value does absolutely nothing to positive numbers, okay? And then I want to figure out what makes this negative 6, because the absolute value of negative 6 is also 6. So there are two answers, which means there are two equations to solve, okay? Now, another piece of the puzzle that we're going to do in problem number 2 is that you need, before you're going to make your two equations to solve this absolute value equation, you need to isolate the part of the puzzle that is inside the absolute value. So I can't have anything being added or subtracted, multiplied or divided out here outside the absolute value on the same side with it. So I have to move everything over. It's almost like you're kind of solving this. If you think of this whole thing as a big variable, you're kind of solving for this, then you're making your two equations. Okay, so let's get started. Again, I want to know when this thing right here, negative 2y plus 6, is 6. So what I'm going to do, I already have this up, I just need to delete my absolute value symbols. And a lot of us this year, when you made your two equations, you kept the absolute value inside or in your work, and it shouldn't be. When you're making your two equations, we just want to know what's inside, when that is the positive value and when that is the negative value. Okay, so I just deleted those symbols. I'm going to insert the math. I like to put them, kind of in this area. And then, to be honest, we can do the other one right away as well. We want to know when this thing is negative 6. All right, so when I insert that math, I'm going to put him over here, and I'm going to solve two equations. Okay, I'm going to solve them separately. You'll notice, though, if you're comfortable, as you're doing the steps, when you subtract 6 from both sides, you're going to have to do the same thing here. And you're going to divide by negative 2, and you have to do the same thing here. You'll have a lot of copy and paste, so you can quickly fill those in. I'm going to solve them individually and go back and copy and paste for this side of the solution. But I mean, once you're comfortable, you can probably just do all this kind of at the same time and solve two equations simultaneously. All right. So now, if I go back to here, the first thing I'm going to have to do is subtract 6 from both sides to move this positive 6 over here. And I have a negative 6 right there. So if I just delete that, boom, insert math, and slide it over to here. And like I said, if you're getting better at this, using this software, or even just very comfortable solving these, you could hit Control V 2 more times to paste and put those negative 6 there to start solving simultaneously. But I'm going to do this first one individually. Now, that leaves me 6 minus 6 is 0, and also 6 minus 6 is 0 here. I chose this problem because this was another issue for us this year. Negative 2y equals 0. It would be the next line of this. And this is where you got to get careful. This line is not going to match this line here, because when I subtract 6 here, we're not going to get 0. So you can't just go without thinking about it. Oops, Control Z to undo mistakes. There you go. And I have him. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. So that's the divide button. the divide button. There we go. That's, again, next to shift on the right side. I'm going to click into the denominator and put -2. I'm going to insert that. I'm going to copy and paste that to both sides of the equation as well. I'm going to get rid of him so I can see what I'm doing. Divide -2, Control C, Control V. We got him there. That cancels out, and I'm left with, this is the part that was a struggle for some of us. 0 divided by -2 is 0. It's not no solution. This is a solution. 0 is totally fine solution. We even saw some of this on our slope problems last week. This should result in 0. Okay, not 0 over -2. You need to simplify that. All right. So now bring him back up, and I actually have the solution. Y equals 0. Insert, drop him down, make it a little bigger so we can see it, and bam, there's our solution. All right. Now, on this side, same thing. I'm going to grab this guy, Control C, Control V, slide him over. Same thing. And now just be careful. This result, this -6 minus 6 is not 0. It's -12. So this is what I mean. You can't just kind of go into robot mode. You have to think about it a little bit. -2y, -2y equals -12. Insert it. Boom. And then we're going to divide by -2. I'm going to bring him down. I'm going to copy this. Boom. Boom. That cancels out. And now I'm back to my solution. -12 divided by -2 is +6. So y equals 6. Insert math. Bring him down. And there's our solutions. All right, so we have the two solutions, and if I kind of check it, -2 times 6 is -12. -12 plus 6 is -6, and the absolute value of -6 is +6. Again, two answers for these problems. So let's move on to the next problem. So I'm going to add a slide here, and we're going to make it blank again. And then the other piece of this puzzle for the second problem, it's similar, but we're going to do the algebra work up front here, where we're going to move this 3 over, we're going to divide both sides by 2, and then we're going to make our two equations. And once you make your two equations, you'll be done because you're going to have x equals whatever those results are. So let's get started. The first step is going to be to add 3 to both sides. So we're going to do that. Again, this is kind of the other half of that important, what was a new concept this year, was essentially to, isolate the absolute value and then to understand that you need two equations to finish. So this is kind of seeing the other part of that new piece. So -3 plus 3 is 0, and 8 plus 3 is 11. So let me see here, 2, an absolute value of x equals 11. Looks good. And we'll put him here. Now, again, this isn't isolated, so we still want to divide both sides by 2. And insert. Boom. Control C, Control V. Boom. That cancels out, and we're left with, I'm going to show the step. Whoops. First, I have to get rid of all the old stuff. Equals 5.5. That's what I mean. So we're essentially done with this problem. We just have to show the two answers. All right, so boom, and I goofed that up. So let me go back and let me just get rid of that. And let's try that again. Is that gonna be right? Let's see. Yeah, I think I got it. That looks better. There we go. Now we make our two equations, one with positive 5.5 because the absolute value of 5.5 is 5.5, and then the absolute value of negative 5.5 is also 5.5. So when we do this, just got to get rid of the absolute value symbol. There's answer 1. And then there's answer 2. Actually, that's can't do that with this program. So let me do this. Boom. And then, oh, did I not insert it? There we go. Oh, he was up there. Sorry. Boom. Boom. And there are our two answers. Now, I want to do one more. I got enough time to do one more. I think we should be good. And it's kind of a special case. And this is where when you really get into doing a couple in a row, you kind of forget this little detail. And, you know, it kind of adds to your to the link that's going to take you to solve these. So, new slide. It's already blank, so that's good. Here's our new problem. 1/2 x plus 5 equals -3. I often find that oftentimes math books try to like maybe make you a little freaked out because they make you see a fraction here, so you're kind of looking at that. Your eyes are drawn to here, and you go, "How am I going to deal with that?" And you're a little nervous. But what you really should be looking at is the result of -3. Okay. Now we remember that absolute value problems always yield a positive result. Always. Okay, so I should say this portion, when we actually say, hey, the absolute value of, you know, is positive, you can get negative answers for these problems, but you cannot get a negative answer when you apply the absolute value. So this side of the puzzle has to be positive for there to be an answer. So really, I don't know what that is all about, but see if I can insert that. And that would be the answer to this one. Okay, I do have a little bit more time, not a lot. I just want to kind of talk you through another type of problem you might see. All right, for this last problem, just because of time, I've kind of got it all planned out for you. So here's the problem. We have an expression inside the absolute value. We have something on the outside. In this case, it's 3 times the absolute value portion. So we're going to isolate this piece of the puzzle first by dividing both sides by 3. Okay. This is going to cancel out. That leaves us with our absolute value equals 12. All right. Now we can make our two equations. When is this thing 12 and when is this thing -12? Boom, there's the 12, there's the -12. So we made our two equations. Like I told you earlier, I'm going to solve these simultaneously. So I'm going to do all the same steps, you know, to each problem and solve them at the same time. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides of both equations. So it looks like that. And then that cancels, and that leaves me with -4x equals 6. 12 minus 6 is 6. And then again, that cancels out, and this is going to be -18. So that's the kind of part you got to make sure, you know, you don't just go into robot mode and repeat the same step. Okay, this is a different problem. And then we're going to divide both sides by -4. That cancels out, and then don't forget to simplify your fractions. So we can get rid of that. 6 over -4 is -3/2, and -18 divided by -4. The negatives cancel out. They both have a common factor of 2, so that reduces to 9/2. I hope this video helps, and we'll see you guys next time.